We'd like to welcome you to the first annual Litter Quitter Member Business Summit. We appreciate you all being here today. So we're going to get started out with some of our presentations for the day. We'd love to thank our sponsors. We have Eco Products, the Hode Group, Inc., Durable Packaging International, Edward Don and Company, Leafware, and then also DoubleTree for hosting this event. We also would want to thank our partners. Keep Brevard Beautiful is a partner on this program, as well as the Surfrider Foundation and Brevard Zoo, and also all of you for being here, our wonderful member businesses. So we're going to start out with a presentation kind of on the Litter Quitter program, the basics of the program, some of the new things that are going on with it, and the direction we'd like to go for the future. So, first, a little background on why we're doing this. So, as Keep Brevard Beautiful, some of our focuses are preserving natural resources and their benefits. Some of the reasons we want to do that are because it's so important for protecting our jobs and building a sustainable economy here in Brevard County, as well as for our health, our safety, and our quality of life as citizens of this area. So, litter is a big focus for us. This is a pretty common scene. When someone just leaves one thing on the beach, it may not seem like a big deal. But when everyone does it, we start to get really big problems. So this is actually a beach along the Indian River Lagoon. Does anyone notice any kind of trends with the sorts of products that we're finding? We're seeing lots of bottles, we're seeing lots of styrofoam cups, things like that, mostly plastic products, and a lot of it is to-go food service items. So the reason why we see a lot of plastics is because they're both prolific. In our society, we use them for almost everything, and plastics are also incredibly resilient. They don't really break down naturally in our ecosystems. They're a product that we created. The decomposer organisms can't really eat them and break them down like they would a natural product. So when plastics get out into our ecosystems, they're going to persist there forever and cause problems for us. So this is something that we try to address. So the ocean is a pretty good example of what these products do when they get into our ecosystems. So there's a couple different ways that they impact wildlife. One is by actually being ingested by wildlife. So you can see in the slide up here in the top left-hand corner, that is actually all little pieces of plastic that have been ingested, I believe it was by a sea turtle. Seabirds are also really impacted by this issue. I think it's by 2050 they're anticipating that about 95% of individuals and 99% of seabird species are going to have plastic in their gut contents. So the big issue with that not only is that it's not food, right? But they actually can't, if it's bigger pieces, they can't pass it, which prevents them from eating real food, and eventually they get malnourished and will die. So we see that happening all throughout our oceans and ecosystems. Sea turtles are another common species that ingests a lot of plastics. You can see that picture in the bottom left, plastic bags, for instance, look exactly like jellyfish, which is a natural food source for turtles. So these are not products that we want in our ecosystems, but when they end up as litter, that's exactly where they go. Actually, we talked about how plastics can't break down naturally. The one thing they will do is, by sun and natural elements, just break down into smaller and smaller pieces, to the point where we now have pieces of plastic in our oceans so small that they're actually being consumed by zooplankton. And if you think about that, zooplankton are at the bottom of the food chain. Everything eats zooplankton, including the fish that we eat. So it kind of all comes back to us. The other big issue that we have with wildlife is entanglement. So marine mammals, for instance, are very curious about things in their surroundings, so they'll go investigate them, they get entangled in it, and again, plastic doesn't break down, so that's going to constrict the growth of that animal over time as well as their movement, so that's another issue that we have. And again, with things eating plastics, the other issue that we have is that there's chemicals in plastics that are not good for us, right? So they have hormone imitators in them, endocrine disruptors, so those are going to create all sorts of issues when they get into our food chain. And then the other thing that happens is plastics in our ocean will actually absorb any other chemicals that are in the water and again concentrate those up the food chain. So not something we want happening in our oceans. So again, you don't have to be a tree hugger to care about this issue either. It's not just our ecosystems that are impacted. Here in Brevard County, we're a tourism-based economy. So all of this comes back to our pocketbooks too. So tourism is a $3 billion a year industry in this area. It's something that a lot of our jobs depend on. And the bottom line is, beaches are one of the top tourist destinations in the United States, but a big part of how tourists choose what beaches they're going to go to is based on cleanliness. So if our beaches are not clean, people are not going to come here and our economy is going to suffer. So it's something that we all need to be concerned about from a business perspective too. And then also just as people that live here, no one wants to surf that wave, right? That's not fun. No one wants to sit on that beach with plastic, also not fun. So we kind of lose out on that in our enjoyment of this area, and then also our real estate values are impacted by litter. It kind of degrades the overall value of the community. So we've kind of talked about the issues with plastics, but let's talk about the scale of this issue, specifically here in Brevard County. So Keep Brevard Beautiful, this is actually a number from 2014, but it's kind of typical, collected 37,000 tons of litter in 2014. That's just what was removed and just by Keep Brevard Beautiful. So that really speaks to the scale of the problem overall. So to kind of put that into a little bit more understandable perspective, if you were to put that litter into garbage trucks, the typical ones that come by your communities, that would be 10.5 miles worth of garbage trucks. So that would cover the 192 causeway 5 times, just the amount of litter that was removed in 2014. So there's a lot of this stuff out there, and again, we talked about a lot of it is plastics. That's a big problem. So we also work with the Ocean Conservancy every year. Typically this cleanup happens on September 16th, but it's called Coastal Cleanup. So we actually have our volunteers catalog every single piece of item, or every single item of litter that they pick up so that we know what types of products are out there and what types are causing the biggest problems. And then they compile these statistics worldwide. So these are some of the most common types of litter worldwide. You'll see cigarette butts are actually the #1 most commonly littered item. We see that holding true here for Brevard County too. But if you combine all the different types of plastic products together, that's the single biggest issue really. And again, you can kind of look at these types of products that we have. We have straws, we have plastic lids, we have foam to-go containers. A lot of these products are to-go food products. About 49% of litter in a lot of cities comes from to-go food service items. So if we want to tackle this problem, that's a great place to start. So that's why we got together with our partners, so again, Brevard Zoo and Surfrider Foundation, to found the Litter Quitter program. So this is actually a program that was developed by volunteers, and it runs entirely on volunteers. So you can see these ladies in the top right-hand corner, they have brochures. So our volunteers go out to local businesses with these brochures, kind of educate people on the problems with plastics and how they can be a part of the solution. So they've recruited, so far I think 38 member businesses now through this program over the past 2 years. And all of these member businesses have sustainability initiatives in place that reduce their use of single-use plastics. So we're trying to get people to switch to plant fiber-based alternatives that can break down in the environment if they end up there, and then also to reusing stuff to kind of reduce waste. So we'll talk a little bit more about the specifics of this program. So these are our member businesses. We have listings for all of them on our website, so we definitely encourage you to check that out. So just to name some of them, we have IAP, we have Long Point Cafe, we have Sandy Beach Surfing, we have Sebastian Inlet Surf and Sport, Rusty's Seafood and Oyster Bar, we have Satellite Beach Sustainability Board, Cafe Surfinista, Robberitos, Clean Surf, Pizza Gallery and Grill, Nobo, On the Edge Rock Climbing Gym, Paradolia Brewing Company, Wildside Tours, Standard Collective, The Nomad Cafe, Long Doggers, Sunseed, Brevard Zoo, Sugar Shack Donuts and Coffee, Brevard Achievement Center, The Courtyard at Marriott, Mustard's Last Stand, Islands Fish Grill, Playa Linda Brewing Company, Days Inn, Village Cycle Shop, The Green Room Cafe, Best Western, and Hampton Inn. So these are all businesses that have sustainability initiatives in place to benefit the community, and they were all recruited by volunteers, and we have some of them here today. So we appreciate all of them doing what they do for the community. So again, we have listings for all of these businesses on our website. There's actually an interactive map feature, which is really cool. You can zoom in over your area and find businesses near you. They're also broken down by category, so whether you want to go to a restaurant or a retail institution or an activity like rock climbing, you can find our sustainability members on there. And then these are some of the initiatives that they have in place, really cool stuff. So we have a lot of folks who have plant fiber-based to-go boxes, bags, utensils, shipping and packaging products for the retailers. They have incentives for bringing your own to-go container, again, to reduce waste. So we have some businesses that will actually give you a discount on your next meal if you bring in your own to-go container, which is a really cool initiative. A lot of them are switching to e-receipts instead of the paper receipts, because the receipt papers are actually, in most cases, not recyclable, which is kind of a bummer. A lot of them have recycling programs in place. They have special napkin dispensers that reduce napkin waste. They have recycled content products, trying to use products that have been made from recycled things. Composting is big with a lot of our member businesses, upcycling, and some of them have actually, the ones that are along the waterfront, have special deck netting to prevent plastics from blowing into the water. So lots of really cool, really forward-thinking initiatives from these businesses that we're really proud to support. So, because these businesses have made a big investment in sustainability for the benefit of our community, we want to give something back to them. So that's why this program really markets them. We provide marketing benefits to help make it a good investment for them. So us and then also our partners, we provide social media marketing. So each business gets a listing. There's also, again, that interactive map on our website. So there's listings on there that show their logo, some pictures of the business, and then their different initiatives. So you can actually check out a business and see what they have in place. And then we also try and get the media coverage. Florida Today did a nice article on the program a little while back that got them a lot of exposure, so that was cool. We also really promote these businesses out in the community to try and increase their profile and visibility. So one of the big things is window stickers. So if you guys see in that picture on the right, that is our window sticker that each of our member businesses get. So they put that in their front window, and it kind of allows people to see that they're a part of the program and to choose to support that business. We also do a lot of public education presentations. There's always a slide like what I showed you guys that has all of our member businesses on there. We talk about all the cool things that they're doing. And same thing when we table. We actually have some of our tabling stuff out here today, and you can see we have listings for each of our member businesses there too. So trying to get people educated on all the cool things they're doing. So we're also rolling out some new benefits that some of our current members may not have heard of before. So one of the biggest ones that we want to promote is we have partnered with distribution companies to be able to offer discounted group pricing on sustainable products, again, to try and bring that price point down, because oftentimes to do the right thing and use sustainable products does cost more. So we're trying to kind of offset that both with the marketing benefits and with the discounts that some of our partners are able to provide. So we have them here today. Be sure to talk to them, take sample products, and find out about what they can offer for you guys. We also, what we're doing here today is a new benefit for you guys. We're going to try and do annual summits every year where we present some educational information, kind of get you guys talking to each other, sharing your ideas, sharing your initiatives, so that we can kind of all move forward together as a community. So we'll be doing these summits on a yearly basis. And then another thing that we'd like to start doing is annual days of support for each business, where we kind of highlight you and drive people to your business. So that's another thing we'll be talking to you about. So for those of you that are not currently a part of this program and are looking for ways to get involved, there's a bunch of different opportunities. So to become a member business, you can either fill out the form that a volunteer will bring you, or you can actually go to our website, keeperofourbbeautiful.org, click on the Litter Quitter program, and there's actually an online version of the survey that you can do as well. It's a checklist, so you go down and look at any of the sustainability initiatives that apply to you. If you have at least one sustainability initiative in place, you are qualified for the program. So start small, we show you how being sustainable can work for you, and then we go from there. So that's all it takes to get qualified. To become a volunteer, there are training resources available on our website. We also do in-person trainings. And we have some brochures at the back table if anyone would like to take those today. The brochures help you to recruit the businesses. So it has all the information on the program and the benefits and all that good stuff. So you kind of go out to local businesses and try and get them involved with this program. There is also a newsletter and Facebook that people can get involved with to kind of stay updated on the program. And we're also always looking for partners. So there's a bunch of different ways to partner on this program. You can either provide volunteers, you can provide incentives, or funding also for the marketing elements of this program. So again, we want to thank you all, both our volunteers, our partners, and our Litter Quitter member businesses. If you need to get in touch with us, the website is a great way. We also have contact information here. And how are we doing on time? Okay. Do we have any questions on the program, first of all, or new elements of the program? Yes.
My question is, what have you found to be the most effective incentive or incentives to get businesses to come on board with this program?
So one of the easy things that we encourage our volunteers to start with is an ask first straw policy. So a lot of times when you go out to eat, a restaurant will bring you a cup with a straw already in it, right? So you don't have a choice to say, actually, I didn't want a straw. So a lot of times if a business will ask you first, at least half the people will say, actually, I don't really need it, especially if you pitch it to them the right way. Do you really need a straw? Or if you explain, hey, here's the impact of straws. And then that saves the business money. So there's some initiatives like that are a win-win. They actually reduce cost too. And those are the ones we try and lead with. Those are really good examples. And we have actually some of our member businesses here today who have those sorts of policies in place. So we'll talk about those later, yeah. All right, any other questions? All right, so I think are we ready to move on to our next speaker? Okay. All right, so we have next, Ken Frazier from Eco Products is going to talk to you guys about some of the types of products that we are promoting and compostability. All right, there you go.
Thank you very much, Allison. Awesome. Again, I want to reiterate, on behalf of Eco Products and the Hode Group, our repping company here in the state of Florida and throughout the Southeast, and Edward Don, of course, for helping put this together. It's really our mission statement as a company. Our values proposition is not only to manufacture and make product for the industry, but if people don't understand how all of this works and what the alternatives are out there, then we're going to fail. And it's venues like this where we have an opportunity to stand before business owners, community leaders, and as a community itself to really bring forth what's going on in the food service industry. So again, my hope today is to help enlighten and hopefully educate all of us together, because I think what I was so impressed with KBB and with Litter Quitters is that this is a community effort. And things change when communities get involved. And I stand before many, many people through many shows and many different things, and I always get asked the question, why bother doing this? There's no infrastructure, they're not composting, recycling, we don't do that in our community. Well, nothing's going to happen unless we give it a voice. And I think that's why all of you are here today. That's why we're here today, because we need collectively to have a voice. So that's what we're doing, and I appreciate every one of you for coming out. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about plastics. And again, there's a lot of correlations here between Allison's slides and her deck and what I've got here that I want to present today. And there's some phenomenal information in the back as well from the University of Florida and the zoo and others about what we need to do. So I want to talk about recycling a little bit, because there's a lot of misunderstanding, and maybe we are looking at recycling as an end-all and the perfect situation. And it's not necessarily the case, but it's the right way to go. But I want to talk about that a little bit. So I want to talk about some terminologies. A MRF, MRF, is a materials recovery facility. Most counties have one. It's where we send all our recyclable trash. And it's really quite an interesting place to go to. How many of you have ever been to one and examined what's going on in a recycling facility? Okay, got a few hands here. Good. We all should, because we need to understand the procedures and what's taking place in a recycling facility. The FTC, of course, is the Federal Trade Commission. They're kind of a watchdog for misinformation, for bad, language, for, what we would call greenwashing or recycling washing, misinformation out there. So there's a lot of legislation, there's a lot of watchdogging in the industry to help clarify the message and make sure people understand what's taking place and prevent companies from telling not so good of a truth about products that they might be making. Access is when a local municipal recycling program will accept items for processing. So does your MRF allow access for those products going in that big blue bin or at the back of your, by your waste bin that are going to be recycled? Do they, what access are they giving you? And I love this one, whether it's recyclable or recycled, they both have kind of a different connotation one to another. A recyclable meaning, and here it says more than 60% of consumers have access to curbside drop-off and that will accept an item. So there's a lot of access to put recyclables into play, but recycled, meaning that what actually gets recycled, is something that's been recovered, manufactured into a new version of its former self. So again, it's like an action there, that something has happened with that recyclable. So I want to kind of talk about this a little bit. Recovery relies on markets and legislation. Again, one of the reasons we're all here, you're here, is because you have a voice. You have a voice with your community leaders, your government. You know, as business community, you're looking for change. You can be a vital part of legislating and pushing forward initiatives in your community that will make a difference. So basically here, let me make sure I have this right, you have community buy-in, and that's what we really want here. We need a community buy-in. There are folks that have to take that trash, that recyclable product, and haulers, these guys are awesome. Sometimes they work for big corporations, sometimes they're little guys that are just out there, you know, making a living. It's a job creator. Recycling has its place with creating jobs. Here's our MRF. That's the operation where everything has to go. The buy-in here, in that MRF, they have to have a location, they have to have a place to send that product. So nobody recycles, no MRF is in existence because they're just being nice about it. They're doing it because they're making money. And they have to make money to pay those employees, to pay those haulers, to do what they have to do. There's a lot involved in there as far as the economics are concerned. Market assurance, trade associations over an organizing support, you know, getting the buy-in, getting a place to take it to market. And then, you know, what can we do to handle volume, quality, overall impact? What is that going to offer the community? So there's a whole scheme of things here that make recycling work well, and there are things that unfortunately sometimes make it challenging. What I find very interesting here, this is a study that was done that shows what is most sought after in recyclables. And I think this is a little bit eye-opening here. Of course, our PET bottles, you know, if you have a reusable water container, that's awesome. But if you are buying those big, you know, you buy 32 bottles in a big thing from Sam's Club, and you've got all these bottles, you're throwing them away, throwing them away, throwing them away. And even with those bottles, if you've ever noticed, the plastic on a lot of our water bottles are getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And believe it or not, the thinner they get, and they're not charging any less for the water, they're probably really, in essence, charging more. But in many respects, the thinner that plastic gets, it can become more problematic to recycle it. Okay, your detergent bottles, these are the things that are greater than 60% chance. PP bottles, so those of you who love your Chobani, your yogurt containers, all of that, here you go. Those are sought after, and I hope, how many in here actually, when they're throwing something away, if you're recycling at home, or even in your business, are cleaning out the product? Good for you. All right, that needs to be done. A lot of times we, again, as I think as Americans, we just want to throw it away, and we just assume that somebody's washing our garbage, and they're not. They're just not doing it, and they don't have the time, money, or expense to. And again, here we are talking about aluminum. Aluminum is probably one of the most sought after materials because it has a high dollar value, and it's made into all types of things. You know, all those cans and containers and things like that can be melted down. You know, Ford is using it to make fenders and car parts and engines, and everybody else, GM. Aluminum is a well sought after and a wonderful recyclable. Glass is as well and can be, but like anything here, and cardboard, of course, I think probably most of you are, you know, recycling your cardboard, which is a great thing to do. Then the next level down would be your gable top and a septic. So all those containers like milk and orange juice that have the little screw caps, believe it or not, those are recyclable, and it depends on the market, but it can be done. All your rigid cups, clamshells, containers. But then we get down here, and this is really what I want to kind of make sure people understand. Less than 20% that can be recycled. Believe it or not, paper cups, because they're contaminated oftentimes with food waste and maybe not cleaned out, and also they don't know what's lining the inside of that, that paper can't be recycled in many cases because of the plastic coatings on them and so forth. And I think what's very important here to understand, same with cutlery, you know, there's polypropylene, polystyrene, there's all types of cutlery out there that, again, when they recycle and remake something, they don't take plastic and pour it into a vat and make some hyper, you know, breed of plastic. It has to be separated by its chemical substrate. So you don't mix plastics together to make some super bioplastic, or not bioplastic, but super plastic. And again, here at the bottom of the list, the foam, cups, trays, clamshells, all that protective packaging, that product is the most problematic and oftentimes is not recycled. So again, there's a lot of companies, and not to knock what they're doing, because the industry, especially in food service, has been so married to the inexpensive foam type products and so forth, that to say it can be recycled is more problematic than anything else, and it's not necessarily happening in the industry. This is an interesting, and I love this slide because it really relates to what Allison was talking about as far as the contamination that is entering into our streams. I do as well live in Florida, and again, all around our coast, everyone's extremely concerned. There's a lot of talk, a lot of discussion on banning and doing different things, but here's what I want to, it's kind of hard to see this on here, but 99% of virgin feedstock. So this would be petroleum-based products that are made into packaging, come from oil resources. We create 78 million tons of product that ends up in several aspects here. 40% ends up going to a landfill, so that's problematic. What I think here relates to what we're all here for today, because we're seeing, and from what I understand, there's a lot of initiatives here. There's a lot of trash flowing from whatever's out off your coast and whatever's on your intercoastal right here. 32% of leakage ends up in our environment, whether it's in our streams and oceans and lakes, or as well as just in the mangroves or out in our parks, out in our land, out in general. This is where 32% of that ends up, believe it or not, because of bad practices, because of poor, what people do. They just dump everything, and we don't have all the right infrastructure to capture it. 14% basically is being incinerated for power sources. And so here we end up, here's what I'm wanting to show you here is 14% does get collected for recycling. And out of that, there's loss in there because of contamination, food contamination, so forth. Items get rejected. And then cascaded recycling. And but the big thing here is I want to show is 2% closed loop recycling. That's what percentage-wise is actually being remade into something again. And that's a very small number. And my thought here, and I want to bring this a point, this is not saying that recycling at all is a failure. I think the problem we have is our infrastructures, our system of how we do it, what we're doing with it, and as a community, how we're making a voice to change what we're doing. That's what needs to happen here. And basically kind of going on here, again, create an effective after-use plastic economy. That's if it's going to work, we have to demand recycled content product. That has to happen. Otherwise, most of the food service companies and regular company manufacturers are going to continue using the available resources of virgin resin to make their plastic products. And we have to have a voice and say enough is enough. It has to be post-consumer, period. We want that content in the plastics that you're making. So by creating that demand, that allows a MRF to do its job, to pull these things out of our community and actually know that they're going to be made into something else. We need to drastically reduce leakage of packaging into our natural systems. And I think that's what we're here for today, is how can we do that? How can we work together to make that happen? And then really decoupling plastics from fossil feedstocks. That's where basically we as a company, Eco Products, are coming in, and others, where there are offerings, there are great alternatives made of natural resources, renewable resources that grow every year. We're not sucking out petroleum that we do need to make fuels, to make essential plastics for important things. But to make single-use product that we blatantly eat off of and then just throw that plastic in a garbage can, in most cases it may not end up being recycled. That's a terrible, terrible way of handling a natural resource that took millions of years to get here. So when we look at the options of, taking existing plant matter and turning it into containers, to turning it into cups and so forth, there's and all types of disposables, it seems to be I'll show you here, what would be a better resource. So anyway, takeaways on recycling. Recycling is important. Absolutely it is. To say we shouldn't do it or it doesn't work, that's not what I want to say. That's not what our company says. That's what I think the industry is. We just need to do it better. And it's because recycling can be hard, but so can most everything. Recycling food and contamination that's contaminated the plastics make it more difficult. So again, it's training, it's educating. How are we throwing it away? What are we doing to be better stewards of what we're putting in that trash can? A compostable solution is also not easy because all the infrastructure is not here to do that. But again, I've often said to people, if we wait for it to happen, it's never going to happen. Unless we are actively doing something to force the industry to move in this direction, then we are all activists to do that, and we have to do that. The industry has momentum behind this solution. The shift is huge. Right now, we have seen major corporations, major chains, everyone's looking at a sustainable, renewable type of footprint. Okay, well, when in doubt, ask for help. That's what I'm here for. And I do want to talk a little bit about compostable versus biodegradable because the two terms are similar, but they're also very different, okay? Biodegradable are, everything is. I am, you are, the chairs you're sitting on, this table. Eventually, everything will biodegrade, but it could take hundreds of years. It could take 1,000 years. It could take 1 year. It really depends on several things. It has to be given time. And what's important here, the FTC, this is where the watchdog part comes in because that word biodegradable is a very broad brush. And it's used a lot in the food service industry to kind of give leeway to products that really aren't quite where they should be as far as biodegradability goes. And I think this is important. It's deceptive to market products customarily disposed of in these manners as biodegradable. And again, what it's saying here, according to the FTC, they must break down and return to nature within 1 year after customary disposable. And the problem is landfills are not doing that. A landfill is not the right chemical process for composting or breaking things down. It's a tomb for trash. Incinerators have their place, communities use them, but that's not biodegrading either. That's just burning it to create energy. And recycling facilities do not enable decomposition. They're just a sorting process. So again, what we're saying here, compostability, okay, are products that are broken down by microbes, Mother Nature's creatures that do a great job taking things back to the earth. And within a reasonable amount of time and create valuable soil amendments and leave behind no toxic residue. And I love, this is my tool. At Earth Day, I go to kindergarten classes, I go to colleges and universities. The audience is vast, but this is actual compost. Compost is a soil amendment. This is not soil. It's an amendment to be added to soil because what is taking place here is products like these with food waste make this wonderful, nutritious additive to soil. As you probably know, especially here in Florida, our soil is extremely challenged. We continue to pump phosphates and nitrogen, all these things into our soil, but we're missing key ingredients to that. So again, it's not just about, we look at the ocean issues, the water stream issues, but we also have a major soil issue in this country as well. So we have a lot of ways of handling that, and I love this here. 40% of the food in the United States is wasted every year. When you think about food production, we're talking about the water it takes to create nice, clean, wonderful almond trees, nice and juicy to make that almond milk. The tomatoes, a lot of water in tomatoes, lettuce, it goes on and on. The amount of water that it takes to feed these plants is huge. And with that, and the trucking, the industries to move it around all over the country, it takes up a lot of energy. But out of that, all the production we have, 40% of it never makes it to market, never makes it to your table. And we are so picky. If you go to the grocery store and you see a bruised banana or a tomato that's got a little dark spot on it, you pass it by. It's perfectly edible, but you don't eat it. Okay, we're very particular about our produce and everything else. So again, a lot of things end up going to 21% of the materials we send to the landfill are food. Food. Perfectly good food. I work with composters throughout the Southeast, and I see trucks coming in from Publix, from Whole Foods, from Food Lion, just tons of pineapples, tomatoes, it goes on and on and on. And you see this perfectly good food, cookies and baked goods just laying in a pile, okay? And it's a tragedy. But again, it's how the system is working. But the positive thing about that is, in the sense of that food waste is the perfect component along with this to create this. If we're going to put back into the soil, instead of sending it to a landfill where it will rot, it will create methane gas, it will be an environmental issue as it is. If they can't capture it, which they cannot capture all the methane in a landfill, this is a viable alternative to it. So, the thing is with this, they're all the big guys in the room, your Sodexos, Aramarks, all the big feeders on college campuses, at hospitals, and so on and so forth. And there are major corporations like this that have sustainable initiatives to move away from standard foams and plastics and to capture food waste. A stadium, major stadiums, the same thing. You have 80,000 to 100,000 people. That's a lot of food waste after a game at a stadium, whether it's at a college or university or whether it's at a professional sports team, baseball, football, whatever, basketball. There's a lot of food waste as well as disposables being thrown away. They are making the initiatives to capture that, to stop sending it to a landfill. So again, here's an example of Chipotle. Workplaces, here's again a stadium showing their waste diversion rates at 89% because they've taken the initiative to sort and purchase products, whether it's ours or others similar to ours, that can marry with food waste to create a viable end-of-life solution with something like this. I hope that explains a lot. And here, a lot of studies being done. Here's all different ways of capturing disposables, food service food, and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, here's the thing. This is the arrow here that I want to focus on. These are 27 solutions of handling food waste. The most viable one is to compost, to take that already wonderful, rich food waste and turning it into a soil additive that will contribute back to farmers, local communities, landscapers, and it goes on, and to you even in your home garden. So we're seeing major shifts toward this. It's a wonderful job creator. Currently, of course, there's not enough. Again, as I said earlier, I get the question, it's the cart before the horse, the chicken and the egg, if we sit back waiting for the industry to put everything in place for us, we will be waiting a long time. Change comes by activism. Change comes by what we're doing here today. Change comes from a community and a business community having a voice, and that's what I think we want to do here. So we are an advocator as Eco Products. We're a part of an industry that has many facets to it, and we feel, be an active part to institute that change. I always say to folks at shows, look, we're not just making stuff to sell. We really need people educated and understanding how products like this in the industry work, and also to be buyer beware of what you're buying as well. So our focus here is our bundle and our core, who we are, okay, as far as what we offer to the industry, what we can do as far as here's the big thing is advocacy. We work like working with folks like you, working with many organizations throughout the country to advocate for change. And we know the industry will not change unless it's given a voice, and you are the voice. So basically, that is basically what I wanted to cover here. And there's a lot of product here to look at. There's a lot of product outside the door. There are sample kits. And again, Edward Don, we have partnered with them in your market here to really offer you the very best that we can contractually. It's because we want to help you do the right thing. And anything that you have questions on right now, I think, Nick, do I have time? Okay. Are there any questions? Oh, there's a gentleman behind you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. And I'm happy to get together with all of you after this, but I'm curious. I'd like to find out. I know we met with one of our county commissioners recently, and we began a conversation about composting. Mm-hmm. And we're also, as most Keep America Beautiful affiliates, Keep Brevard Beautiful works very closely with our waste haulers. Our largest one here, of course, Waste Management, Waste Pro, and are beginning that conversation with them. But we're just at the baby stages, and I'd like to find out and like to get together with all of you that work in other states, other communities, to find out what they did and how they got started and how it's working, mm-hmm. and some of the kind of really in-depth details so that we can bring it to our community leaders, those folks I just mentioned, and show them how it's being done in other communities so we can get it going here.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. I'm going to run back to a slide here because I think I missed really, for the lack of infrastructure, especially when it comes to food waste management and capture along with compostable type disposables in the industry, there are several reasons why it's problematic. And I'm not trying to point fingers at the big landfill, land waste management companies, but oftentimes there's insufficient laws as far as regarding organics diversion, creating feedstocks. That's where all these, like the public stuff, where's that going? You know, there's issues with that on maybe a local level. Also, government incentives to allow composting to be a viable alternative to landfill. Permitting challenge. This is always one because everyone assumes a composting facility stinks, and it doesn't. If it's done right, the natural process of composting doesn't smell. It's not, and I have several that I go to. You do not see birds flying over them. They don't have vermin problems as far as running around because they're actually the heat generated. It's a very sterile type environment because it's a natural process. Although you drive over by a landfill, you see birds everywhere. You see trash flying around. It's a different process. And again, people assuming that they're going to smell bad. You know, we have people that just don't want that in their backyard. Landfill tipping fees, that's what it costs the truck to get into that facility. And sometimes the tipping fees, meaning going to a landfill, they're sometimes lower, most times lower, because it's cheaper to just dump it in the landfill. Where a composting facility, depending on how they want to do it, they make it so high that, you know, it's costing these guys too much money. So it doesn't create the right market, so that becomes a problem. And again, also route density. That's the guy who has to pick up your food waste and everything else to get it somewhere. If he only has one person on the south side of town and another person on the north side of town, he's got to drive that truck all over. He's not going to make a living doing that. So it's a buy-in by the community, which is, I think, what we're wanting to talk about here. So, and then there's the challenges of contamination, which means, you know, stuff that's going to the composting facility, there's going to be someone who thought their compostable flatware or cutlery wasn't really compostable. It's not. And so that gets in the mix. So there's a whole process of, you know, the composter having to deal with contamination. How do you filter that out? And it can be done, and it is done in most facilities. But again, this is an area that I spend a lot of time in my region, in the Carolinas, in Georgia. And now we're seeing it happen more and more. And I actually have a gentleman in Plant City, Florida, that has an organic composting facility that takes both products that are certified compostable as well as tons of food waste. And he turns that into a soil amendment that the citrus industry is using to replace chemical and fertilizer type application to their trees. They're seeing an improvement to the orange groves where they're using organic compost. It would only seem to make sense that Mother Nature has the best solution for things. So, yes.
Could I just follow up real quick? Is the gentleman you're talking about in Plant City, is he obviously it sounds like it's private, is he doing it in collaboration with government or not?
Not.
Totally
okay. Private.
Can
totally
we
private.
afterwards get together and find
Absolutely.
out the closest place that's doing it with government so
Right.
we can start
Right.
that? Thanks.
Okay, yes, we will. And you had a question here.
My question was exactly his question,
Okay.
because I think seeing is believing, so that helps a lot. But I'm almost to that point where everything that I would have, if I get rid of my straws, everything that I have at my restaurant would be compostable. Okay? But then if you put it in a plastic bag, does that negate the
Well,
whole thing?
there are compostable bags that are made out of plant material, and I'm going to grab one right here. Actually, this is called EcoSafe. These are made out of plant starches. They're phenomenal. They will break down in a commercial. They have to be this. There are biodegradable bags that are plastic bags, actual polyresins that are treated with chemicals to break them into smaller pieces. Well, we heard earlier from Allison, those smaller pieces are problematic. So yes, they might break into smaller pieces, but what happens when they're in a landfill? That gets blown around. What happens when those birds or vermin or whatever, raccoons, they run off with something? You know, again, we're not helping the situation. We want it to break down and turn into this. This is really what the end game is, and actually has probably the most viable final solution. But again, it's an industry shift. It's a whole different way of thinking. And that's what we all have to do. And that's why, again, venues like this is important so we can get in front of you so you can say something, right?
Also, I have a heart for it, okay? And it's cost me. I mean, I've done that. It's 8 years we've been doing this. So if you don't have a heart for it, do you know of any place that you have incentives set up that business owners it'd be incentive for them to do it as opposed to, you know, it's like the good guys getting hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Financially.
Right.
And do you know of any venue where they've set it up where there is incentive to do it?
Well, you know, what we've done here with Edward Don and, you know, working with Allison is we have a contract for anyone in this community to put that together and give you the best price we can. I'm going to be honest with you. Some substrates, this versus foam, again, this is a sugarcane container. This is going to be more expensive than that nice, cheap, inexpensive foam container. The problem is, and I think where I want people to begin to think differently in the industry, especially in the restaurateurs and hotels, is yes, this is cheaper. But in the long run, what is it costing us for our future to clean this up out of the foam and the straws? It's costing us billions of dollars in cleanup. It's costing us major damage to our ocean streams and lakes. It's causing havoc in our animal kingdom. You know, so yes, we've chosen the least expensive thing, but it's costing us the most environmentally. And I think that's where we all, as a community, you as business owners, that's the message you need to get across to those who maybe aren't buying in, but they need to understand by not buying in, what's the long-term ramifications of what they're doing. Because it's cheap doesn't make it better. It's just cheaper. That's all. That's all it is.
If I could interject real quick, there is a video on YouTube called The Plastic Age. Watch the first 6 to 8 minutes of that video. It will bring the hair on the back of your neck up. I also encourage you to share that with as many folks that are part of this movement, because this has to be a movement. I hate to use that word, but it's true. It's a movement. Show the movie, show the video, watch the video, share it. Okay, the end of the video shows Pharrell Williams, who we all know, who's a major recording artist, is trying to do something with plastics for the good of the environment. But watch the first 6 to 8 minutes; it'll blow you away.
Hi.
Hi.
So I have two questions.
Okay.
The first is, and you'll have to excuse me, I came in a little late, and so if you already touched on this,
Okay.
just everybody stick your thumbs down or something. So the first question, when you talk about, I liked that you were asking about businesses and sort of, taking the initiative as a business owner with the composting and things like that. Do you know of any limitations legally? Are there any, code limitations, legal limitations, anything? I mean, and now you probably don't know our laws, but generally, are there any restrictions on businesses having something like that on site?
Okay. It totally varies by a municipality. It's a localized thing. So that's a very good question, and I wish, we have 50 states, and every state has counties in those states, and you have a self-run government in those local municipalities and towns and counties. So there's no, the issue always is, especially on the ban side, let's take like New York. We're not going to allow 32-ounce foam cups with big giant drinks in it. Well, that turned out to be a major war in the city of New York. And foam bans are happening all over. Even here in Florida, there's a foam ban in South Beach, in Miami. No foam. They don't want it, period. So, and there's always kickback to that, because it always seems when we tell people they have to do it, for some reason, even if it's the right thing to do, they dig their heels in because they don't want to be told. That's I think how we are as Americans. We don't want to be told what to do. We want to make those decisions and make it on our own. And I think that's where things like this, when people get educated, when people understand why, then I think we would have the buy-in. So I wish I could tell you there was a uniformity to composting. It does vary by state, regulations, where they want it, what they'll allow, blah, blah, blah. It's a very convoluted system. But again, unless it's happening more, and I think the more it happens, and there are groups that are advocates for it, when they have an opportunity to share that and do what we're doing here, but on that level with composters, I think that's where you're going to see more changes like that happening, where it works, it can work. But it's always about to the money. Are we going to make money making this? And yes, you can make money doing this. But again, it's hard to speak for every municipality and every government what they want and what they believe in and what they don't believe in.
And the second question is not quite as business focused. And again, if you touched on this already, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all right.
Thinking about what I can do just in my own world and in my own home, with composting, what if you could just briefly talk about what definitely, in the food world does not go in compost, and just real briefly, meat. What kinds of things do I not compost?
Okay. Well, again, it depends on what you're doing at home. There are people, I don't know, I have a compost. I have not, I have a beautiful incinerator in my sink in my kitchen, and it never gets turned on because we throw everything. I have I bought on Amazon, a nice square container, and I live in Florida, so I have live oak trees around my house. I have brown matter, I add green matter, and I put all of our eggshells, I put everything in there, okay? And again, and I'm not in any hurry, it takes a long time. That type of composting doesn't happen quickly. Commercial composting is very different than what you would do at home. Again, my wife and I just came back from a trip overseas, and we were in Scotland, and every house, someone we visited, they had on their counter next to their sink a little bin that all their food scraps went into. It was picked up in a little green bag with their garbage every week, and it went off to a composting facility. So it was like so exciting to see that taking place. And it was as ordinary and part of their life as anything else. And I thought, wow, we've got to get there here. So as far as you're saying at home, again, caution is always with proteins, things like that, because again, depending on the type of vessel you're composting in, it might be better not to do that. Again, you should see my yard, my garden, my plants, they're just like, it's like Jurassic Park, they're huge. You know, I haven't used Miracle Grow or fertilizer in years. I've eliminated grass. I've got, you know, I've tried to do drought resistant. My yard is really cool. And, but I use my compost and it works. It's a wonderful, natural, Mother Nature's fertilizer. So, good. Anyone else? More questions. Yeah.
I was just thinking about the transition to the infrastructure that we'll need. And could you explain the possibility or the desirability for a potential either co-location or a partnership with biosolid farms in the composting business?
Biosolid farms. Okay, if
Yeah.
you would explain that one to me a little bit better. Okay.
Pretty much using human manure.
Okay.
And
okay.
they're sending this from the wastewater treatment facilities and things like that, sewerage or whatnot, and putting them out there and turning it into fertilizer. You know, of course, nitrogen, phosphorus rich. But I was just curious: is it even possible or desirable to bring the food waste industry, the eco products and such, anything compostable?
When it comes to the sewage that comes from the leftover, all of that sludge that has, you know, has nutrients in them, you know, from human waste and whatever, there's a separation there. And I think there needs to be, because we don't know. There are other things in that stuff that could be problematic when you think of the amount of medical drugs. That's why they say, please do not, you know, your old pills, don't put them down there, but people do. So you're talking antibiotics, you're talking all kinds of things that can be mixed into that. So there is a separation in the industry. When we talk about food waste, it's what most of you as restaurateurs or who have a hotel and you have a restaurant in it or a bar, you know, you're sending food waste, perfectly good natural food type items that have all the right ingredients for the compost and things that we're looking for. There's two schools of thought there with the use of that product.
Right, and I completely agree with you, and there's a reason why, you know, we keep it separated. But I suppose in the transition phase, as we are looking for currently or growing established infrastructure, where we can send our stuff for now,
Right.
even to co-locate it at these areas where it's kind of set up to, you know, put stuff out there and just let it be for a while.
Right.
That's a question. Is there
Okay.
anything that's going to be
Again,
constraint?
probably a helpful tool for anyone looking. And again, composters are farmers that are taking food waste to feed to their pigs and their, to their cows and whatever. If there's a site that we encourage people to go to, it's called findacomposter.com. It's very simple. Just Google findacomposter.com. You can put in your zip code, and you know it may be any number of things to find a home for your food waste. So again, but it's from that we're seeing that as that begins to grow, and as you as a community start asking for and looking for those opportunities, that's where we're seeing the job creation of those things happen. I've got young people, and I was sharing this with Allison yesterday, you know, and you know, I'm 60 years old, and I work with a lot of young kids that are in their 20s, and there's one in particular in the Carolinas. I call him the Bill Gates of composting. The kid is phenomenal, brilliant, but they're creating jobs. They're creating what you're looking for because they have the market for it and they have the desire for it. So, you know, it's coming, but it has to be, you have to have a voice. And it varies. Again, it's hard to say how it will be created, but finding those in your community that maybe are doing it in part, you know, and seeing where their future is. This gentleman I talked about in Plant City is, you know, someone who's, you know, that's where he is. It's not like he has this great conglomerate where he's opening all over the state of Florida, you know, but we're hoping to see that happen. I'm not sure if that answered that well enough or not, but it's a tough one. Yeah.
Ken, we're going to take a quick break here.
Okay.
Folks, if you have more questions, let's hold them to our round table discussion that we'll have. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break. Okay. And those of you that are viewing online, we've got a video for you, and we'll ask you to stand by. For those of you here in the live audience, please feel free, grab some refreshments, take a facilities break, and we'll be back to you in about 5 minutes. Thanks. Stay tuned.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rich Hode with the Hode Group, and today I would like to introduce to you Royal's new folded takeout boxes. This is a single unit design product that is poly-coated, comes in various ounce capacities, and is truly the answer to many of today's carry-out opportunities in food service. For many years, the foam container has been the product that is used the majority of the time. And every one of us knows that this is basically a non-functional product. In this product right here, we have wings. It's not a very good closure. Air is escaping more than it should. And let's face it, with this here, it's going to be very difficult to eat out of something like this. So why don't we try this, where we simply switch it out and put it into Royal's number 2 box. Let's get rid of this non-functional container. And we'll take a look and see how nice the product looks. The fact that it's got a little deep cavity here allows us to eat out of this very easily. And by the way, when we're done, or if we choose not to finish our food product, we can simply close it up like this and place it in the refrigerator, or when we are ready to reheat it in the microwave, so on and so forth. A single-use product that is more functional than anything out there today. It is absolutely wonderful, and it's a simple step up in price. Let's talk about salads for a second. First of all, these containers are very, very leak resistant. Here you have a very nice cold pasta salad, all right? And let's see how good this container does in our number 1 folding box, like this. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised that this container is as leak resistant, just like the one that just came from there, for relatively less money. And quite honestly, you know, a nice carry-out package look that's safe as anything that's out there today. So we'll watch this for a few seconds to see if we have any issues with it, okay? Here's a salad carry-out. Nice looking salad, nice container. Problem is that we got a pretty filled salad here, and once you take the lid off, it's going to be a little bit difficult to eat this salad, whether you're sitting at a park bench or in a car or in a cubicle in your office. So if we go to a container that's a little bit more functional, such as, once again, a number 2 container here in this situation, so let's just do the switch out like that. All right, now what do we have? We've got a salad, once again, with a deeper cavity that's easy to eat out of. I can eat standing up with this. I can eat sitting down. I can eat in the car. I can eat at the park bench. I can basically eat half of my salad, and I can take the rest home later and put it in the refrigerator for now. And it's going to be a nice, neat little package to go. So whether it's a salad carry-out program, or wings, or sandwiches, or entrees, the Royal fold-out boxes are a step up that should help sales increase and the customer satisfaction with their dining experience increase, which once again increases sales. If you really would like to dress this up, you can place a bow around it for desserts. You can get a stick-on label to personalize it on behalf of the restaurant or hotel. And there's so many ways that you can make this look like a gift that is going home to your customer. Once again, I want to thank you for the time today. If you have any questions, please contact us at the Hode Group. Thank you.
All right, so welcome back, everyone. We're going to get started with one of the most exciting portions of today's event, which is our member business panel discussion. So we're going to be asking you guys questions about the sustainability initiatives that you guys have in place, how that's been working for you, what advice you have for other business owners, and then also just answering any questions that you have too. So again, we want to thank you all for being here today. We want to thank our partners on this program, and we want to thank our sponsors. So again, we have Eco Products, the Hode Group, Inc., Edward Don and Company, Durable Packaging International, Leafware, and then also thank you to the DoubleTree for hosting this event. So let's get into it. So again, this is our member business panel roundtable. So we're going to be asking you about your experiences with sustainability. So the first question we have for you all is, why is sustainability important, as well as plastics litter prevention to you and your businesses? So So do we have anyone that wants to kind of answer that question? Why is sustainability important to you and your business? Just kind of raise your hands and we'll bring the microphones around. All right. If you would mention what business you're with as well.
It's on. Okay. My name's Amanda. I'm with Islands Fish Grill. Plastic sustainability is really important. We feature fresh fish, nothing frozen, and we get a lot from our waters. So it's kind of huge that we keep a lot of this out of our oceans. And really, I mean, we live on an island. You know, we need to take care of what's important right here, and start small and then think global. Like that's kind of what we need to do. So.
All right. Do we have anyone else that wants to weigh in on why sustainability is important to your business or to you personally too? And if anyone wants to add something besides their member businesses, we can do that too.
It's important to me because I was probably about 14, 15 years ago. I ran out of paper towels at home. That was long before my restaurant, and I just decided to use what I had, you know, my napkins, my cloth napkins, and things of that nature. At the end of the week, I was down 2/3 of my trash. It really was 1/3 of the trash. I have a small family. So that was an eye-opening experience for me. And that's why when I opened the Green Room Cafe, we went all green from the very beginning. And so to come here and have you guys join us in something we've kind of been doing alone for a while, it's really amazing. And just to know about the plastic bags, I wasn't aware of that. So, you know, when it goes down to the tiniest little organism, you know, it's got to come back to us. So for my grandchildren, I'm in.
That's right. All right.
Hi, my name is Lori. I'm also from Islands Fish Grill, and we've been working with Allison and with Phil for probably a little over a year now to try to keep our area beautiful and to do some sustainability. And with regards to the plastics, one of the initiatives we've started and actually encourages our customers to come back for our takeout orders. If you bring your own bag, we'll let you pull from our fish bowl a coupon for your next visit. So maybe you'll get a new dessert, or free dessert, or maybe a free glass of wine. And we've really gotten a great response on that. We have people who take out 2-3 times a week, but they will choose us over a different restaurant. And we even tell them, because we hate generating the plastic or the paper coupons, that if they reuse the coupon, we'll double it for them.
That's very good. Can I ask a question? Sure. Okay, I'd like to ask a question to you as restaurateur owners or operators, managers. Do you have clientele that come in and ask to know what your sustainability statement is? Where do you stand as a restaurant, as a company? Or, you know, if they are not happy about something, that a container that might be used that they're not thinking is a good one, you know, how do you react to that? I mean, is it something that causes you to think? So I guess that's my question. Are you seeing your clientele asking you to go in this direction of sustainability as well?
John Niederhode from Brevard Achievement Center. I would say, yeah, and relating back to the first question for the sustainability and recycling. So part of it, a lot of the work we do in the county is we actually do a lot of custodial at Patrick Air Force Base, Cape Canaveral, and up at NASA. And actually it's a government requirement for having sustainability with a green 37 label on all the products, recycled content that we use. Well, like for example, lady mentioned paper towels. So we actually don't use paper towels. A lot of our cleaning process, we use microfiber cloths because we've shown that, look, it cleans better, so it's a healthier environment and all that, but we can rewash them or reuse them, so that right there. But again, a lot of the custodial products, we all have to meet that green seal or LEED building or SIMS GB qualification for us in order to use that locally. So 3 of the largest employers in the county, DOD and NASA, they have that requirement on those government contracts. So a lot of that's already taken place on the installations in the county. So plus we implemented all our other sites that we have contracts with.
Very cool. So do we have anyone else with any thoughts, any of our partners, anyone on, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to answer your question. Not being an owner of a business, and I'm assuming that most of the folks here probably all get thumbs up instead of the other side of the question. But for the other side of the question, as a client, I ask when I go in places and I see styrofoam or they put a straw in my glass, I ask them to please, or I try and reach out and find the manager and say, you know, really shouldn't do this. I don't need a straw. Most of us don't. They go to waste. Could you not use those products? And gently, of course, but make my presence known.
Absolutely. Very good. Very good.
All right, so our next question for you all is just trying to get the story of your sustainability initiative. So how did you guys come up with what you wanted to implement? How did you make that happen? What was that process like for you? Do we have anyone who wants to weigh in on that? Some of the initiatives that you have in place at your business? And just mention your business name too, if you would.
Yeah, I'm Kelly from the Tiny Turtle, and I've recycled on my own at home. Owning a business now, a restaurant, we've had the mindset, obviously being the Tiny Turtle, you're kind of coined with the nature there. So I kind of started doing a little research and started slow with the plastic straw. Watched that video out there about how it affects the sea turtle. So we, made the switch over to the compostable. And the feedback has just been amazing. Everybody's right on board with it. I mean, all the customers out there, they want to see more businesses getting involved. So we've been doing it in phases, getting rid of the plastic bag, now moving on to the styrofoams and stuff like that. So, but you do tend to get a lot of feedback from the customers, and I'm learning all the basics, but just into the plastic straw, what is the breakdown? Or I've had one customer say, well, if that compostable straw happens to make it into the waterways, can that affect the sea turtle? What is the breakdown time? And I didn't have an answer. So that was, just learning this. I've been, the biodegradable versus compostable, the time-wise is there.
Okay. Would you like me to take that, Allison?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Okay. Let me help here, because I've seen that video with you see that turtle with that straw. A PLA, which is your plant-based clear, looks just like plastic straw, that is compostable. Composting doesn't happen in the water with certain even bioresins. That's not that process. It takes heat, takes microorganisms. So some of those are still problematic. That's why most of what you see out here are all fiber-based. So I'm going to be really honest with you. This is a heavy-duty paper straw. This would be much less, I wish we didn't use straws at all. But for some reason, we are married to that thing. And whether it's in a little sip drink or whether it's in a giant smoothie or just a regular straw, this would be a better option, because in water, like you're saying, this will get moist, more and more moist, and it's softer, and it would be, I hate to see any mammal of any kind ingesting anything that's foreign to what it should be eating. So I would say this is really a better option, and there are, on the table out back from Aardvark, there's all kinds of options on straws. We do also have a couple of different colored paper straws. It's not the ones like when you were a kid and you drink the milk and after about 2 or 3 sips the thing collapsed. These are actually made to perform and work. So, but again, that would be an honest answer to you. Compostability is not happening in water because you're missing too many elements. So this would be a more viable, a paper straw. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's our focus, especially for this program, because we are dealing with the litter element of it. So we're seeing that a lot of these products are ending up in the environment, so we want to try and make choices that are the plant fiber-based stuff to where they will break down into a non-harmful product in the ecosystem.
So if you have the compostable straw, the choice is to get that to the recycling aspect.
Yeah, well, it's going to go to trash. Yeah,
Right.
or if there were a commercial compost. The problem with anything that you have anyone leaving your establishment, you have no control. There's no control factor. If they go to the beach, the park, they take it to their office or home, they're going to throw it in the trash. So, okay, but this, again, if you are basing on what you're seeing around you, this would be a viable option for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So to answer your question, Allison, my name is Michelle, and I'm with Playland Brewing Company, both facilities in Titusville. And the sustainability initiative that we have in place is a bit more systemic than it is, daily interactives. Like, for example, all of the water that we use in the brewing process, goes through like a reverse osmosis process and then is reused to flush toilets, water plants. The grain that is used in the brewing process is then, donated to farmers as feed. But a lot of the building elements were, rather than bringing in new materials, they reused existing building elements and just refurbished them. I would love to see us move to a strawless policy or move away, from, we started out with with cloth napkins, but, as a cost factor, moved to a heavy duty recycled paper, and it kills me. But, a lot of the initiatives that I am seeing in place are a bit more systemic and, related to the infrastructure of the building as a whole. And so something that I would like for you to weigh in on a bit is, convincing someone or convincing an organization that is on the right track to how do we convince people to take away straws? What has worked for other people? What, maybe other business owners, how have you bridged, let's just stick with just the straw issue, just to kind of keep it a bit more narrow, but how have other people successfully implemented that in a position where perhaps they're not the owner?
Yeah, so we have actually some of our member businesses who I'm going to let speak to that as well, because we have several that have instituted the Ask for Straw policies. Really, that's kind of what this program is all about. So we have you guys who can talk to each other, who can say, hey, we did that. It worked really well for us. These are the benefits that we got out of it. And through this program, we're trying to provide benefits that not only through our partners bring down the cost of a lot of these alternative products, but also kind of help to offset any additional costs with marketing benefits. So we're out there promoting you guys on a daily basis and all the cool things that you're doing. So, and there's a lot of added value that comes with being a sustainable business. Customers perceive a lot of added value for that, and they're willing to pay extra for it, we've seen. So do any of our businesses want to weigh in on that? Okay. Let's get you a microphone real quick. Can we? Yeah.
I'm on the floor a lot at the restaurant, and one thing is generally mentioning the litter quitters. That's a huge thing. Like, I didn't bring a straw out because, we're part of litter quitters. We're trying to keep the beaches clean. And then that draws attention to the program as well. So, they're what's litter quitters? Like, it's a great talking point for your guests. It's just letting them know why. It's not that you forgot the straw, like, because that's a big thing. A lot of people are like, oh, you didn't bring a straw. It's okay, this is why I didn't bring a straw. I can bring one. I have a special one, but we're trying to reduce waste. We're trying to keep the beaches clean. But it really shows very positively for the restaurant that you didn't bring a straw because of that. That's why. So that's helped a lot, at least.
So is this on? I don't have a restaurant, but I eat at them often. And I'm
Thank you.
totally against straws, and I have a Facebook about it and that. But we were up in Gainesville recently, went to a wonderful restaurant called Satchel's, which is a hippy-dippy place. But when the hostess sat us at the table, they put one of the cardboard coasters on there. It was from Skip the Straw, and it said, the top of it said, we do not provide straws. And then the back of it gave an explanation. So they didn't even have to say a word. And everybody at the table was fine with it. And it was something, it was very, very simple.
And that's something we've talked about doing through this program too, as potential next steps would be to be able to provide tabletop displays or, the triangle folding things as well for our member businesses, so that, and, maybe even customized to each business. So these are the initiatives that we have in place. Here's why, to kind of help market that element for them as well.
Ken and Allison, we do have a question from our web audience. Brian?
Yes, Sarah, who's been watching online, says, besides eco packaging, are there any other products available that are environmentally sound?
Yes, there are, if you don't mind me answering that. there are a lot of options out there. Again, we are a larger company that provides an awful lot, but if I can real quick here, Hode Group through Edward Don also represent leafware. This is another, again, these are palm leaves. These are plants that are literally turned into all types of, serviceware that can be used as well. Totally compostable, all natural. Again, has a real elegant look to it. This is another option. Everything we have here that you're seeing of ours is all based on sugarcane, wheat straw, bamboo type substrates and plant starches. So again, it's called leafware. Again, you can go to their website, and again, if you're dealing with Edward Don, again, these are an option that you have available. As I noted in one of the slides, as far as the viability on the recycling side, aluminum has a strong recycling aspect to it because it has probably one of the highest dollar value worth to a recycler, because it has an end-of-life story to be made into something again. So it is highly sought after. So again, just to plug here for durable packaging, they are a part of this as well. Again, the recycling aspect, there are pieces and parts to the food service industry and single-use disposables where some of these have form and function that do very well. So again, that would be, I hopefully answer your question. There are many aspects to the industry, and there's so many new things coming out all the time that have, I've seen even edible disposables, where people stick the fork after they're done eating, chew it, and it's gone. I don't know about that one. But anyway, yeah, you can eat your stuff. But again, saying the industry is moving towards solutions, not complication. So again, that's why we're all in this together. So we're all contributing. I hope that answers your question.
To add to that real briefly too, the other things that we do encourage is people to provide on-site recycling in your businesses. So if you are using recyclable products that hopefully also have recycled content, right? We want to also provide solutions for people on site. Your recycling bin should be the same size as your waste bin, and it should be located right next to it to help people recycle. The other thing is there's always an option to not use disposables. So we want to use things that are reusable whenever possible. If you're already doing dishes, you're already doing laundry, just use stuff that can be reused too. That's always a great option. So lots of possibilities there.
Absolutely. Question?
Just back to the straws. I'm Carolyn from the Cocoa Beach Sustainability Committee, and just constantly looking for things that other municipalities where it's worked. And I saw Charleston is doing no straws for the summer, and their logo is "Don't be a sucker," and it's catchy.
That's good.
So I mean. Yeah, but it's marketing, it's fun, and it sticks. Oh, I don't want to be a sucker. I don't want a straw.
Right.
Very cool.
And actually, if I could throw in about Charleston, Charleston is where I also has a phenomenal. Well, they have a very interactive, co-working together landfill with a commercial composting facility. That is where I get a lot of my compost. They've been doing it for years. The municipality of Charleston, the city of Charleston, had partnered, and they're helping to fund this. And they are bringing in, so you're talking a lot of the restaurateurs, the Publix, the supermarkets, huge amounts of feedstock coming in of wasted, of food that we cannot be resold, cannot go to a food bank, are going in there, being commingled with yard waste, all ground up with products like ours. There are haulers in place that are there. Again, it is the perfect incubator and microcosm of what we're seeing happen throughout the country. Not huge, it's happening, but that's a phenomenal market. If you go on to Bees Ferry composting facility if you Google that, it'll take you to that site, and you see this beautiful composting facility next to this really disgusting looking landfill with all kinds of trash. They work together, and whatever is taken out of the composting facility that is contamination, it goes over to the landfill, and it's very little. So again, it's a municipality that's put all the right ingredients together, working with business, and we are seeing a huge success in that market as in some others.
Ken and I work a lot very closely together, and we really need to learn from the Carolinas. The Carolinas are really leading the way in this whole movement, and we need to do a better job with that. So I think the biggest thing I think we're trying to get across to you all is we have to keep banging the drum and make sure people see and hear what it is we're trying to do. And that's just, I think it's incumbent upon us to always keep pushing that message forward, whether you're putting your sustainability message up on your tables or putting a poster up on site in your operation, but letting people know why you've chosen to use this packaging, why you've chosen to take this step. So the Carolinas are doing a great job. We need to mirror more what the Carolinas are doing, and we need to be that voice that our local government and our government needs to hear, because this is something that has to happen. So, good.
You had talked before about reusing things. Even though we're a small restaurant, we do use glassware, and we also take the opportunity to help keep a local artist busy. And she throws these beautiful ceramic, colorful ramekins that we use, and it kind of gives us our trademark, including when we do catering. Instead of getting those plastic throwaway, platters, we use our own. Yes, we have to go back and pick them up, but they're colorful and they're nice, and we always get beautiful comments about the things that we're doing. So you can use those kinds of things to kind of brand yourself too.
Absolutely.
Good point.
At the green
Very
room.
good point.
So I'm a consumer, and just speaking of having receptacles in your facility, one of the things that struck me, and I first saw this about 6 years ago in a museum in New York, the labeling on the cans was recycle glass, recycle paper, and landfill. And I've started to see that in other places. And when you see landfill on a garbage can, it makes you stop, at least for a minute. And that's a real easy way to create awareness among consumers one at a time.
Absolutely. Looks like we have a question from our online audience as well.
Okay, another question from our online audience. Brian.
Hi, yes. Cheryl, who's watching online, asked, what kind of marketing benefits come from being part of the Litter Quitter program, and how does the business offset its cost by buying these products?
Okay, so the Litter Quitter program has a pretty wide variety of marketing benefits. Keep of Our Beautiful and partners do a lot of that. So there are listings for each of our member businesses on the Keep of Our Beautiful website, the Brevard Zoo website, and then also the Surfrider Foundation Sebastian Inlet chapter website. So they're getting exposure through all of those different audiences. We also do social media posts, social media marketing for each business. The listings on the websites are interactive maps, so it makes it really easy for customers to find and interact with these businesses that are in their area. They're also broken down by category of what sort of services the business offers. And then again, it lists exactly what initiatives they have in place, which is a really cool educational experience for the customers. Again, we also do have window decals, kind of looks a bit like a TripAdvisor sticker that each of our member businesses receive, so that if you're just out in the community and you're walking past a business and you see that Litter Quitter logo, you know, oh, this is a cool business that's really doing what they can for the community. I'm going to go support them. And again, we're constantly developing new ways to market and providing new benefits for our member businesses. So a new thing that we're going to look to do is an annual day of support for each business, which again would be like a whole social media and a whole big event where we drive people in the community to support that business and check out their sustainability initiatives. And again, we have our partnerships with some of the folks that you've heard speaking here today that are helping to bring down the cost of the more sustainable product options. And again, there are also alternatives that can help save you money overall. Things like an ask for a straw policy where you're actually using less products or reducing waste a lot of times will save you money. We've even had some of our member businesses that have switched to recycling and actually saved money through that. So a lot of these products and practices are a lot more cost efficient than you would think. Again, you do also have to think of the overall picture of if we have litter on our beaches, it's impacting our economy. And it all kind of comes back to that. Provide all these benefits for you guys too. So.
If I could add, through Edward Don and, of course, Eco Products, we have come up with preferred pricing for the Litter Quitter program on a bundle of disposable packaging products and other products that you would need for your operation. So keep that in the back of your mind. We're trying to really incent you to incorporate this packaging in your daily operation.
And again, too, there's a lot of value added to the services and products that you're providing as a business when you can be seen as sustainable. So a lot of times people are willing to pay more for your products and services when you are sustainable because they see that as a value to the community. So, all right. We got any more questions on that? Or do any of our partners want to talk about some of their initiatives or why they think it's important to combat plastics pollution? Okay, so how have your sustainability initiatives impacted your business? We've talked a little bit about this, but what sort of changes have you seen from your customer base or in your business, or being part of the program and the benefits you've got through that?
My name's Lori. I'm from Islands Fish Grill, and again, it's so very important to us getting our fish locally to make sure that we keep everything clean. And we do. I live here. I don't just work here. I live here, so it's important for us. Outside of even the food service aspect, we now use handheld credit card processing machines. About 93% of our customers come in and utilize credit or debit cards. But instead of generating that paper as a restaurant that you need to hold on to for 7 years, you have to pay to store that. Should there ever be a question regarding your credit card, we only give them the option to no receipt, email, or text that receipt to our customers. And we tell everyone it's because we are saving our environment. It is very important to us. Not only that, but by taking the machine to the customer as opposed to, walking away with their credit card, there's also a safety marketability in it. No, we're not walking off with your credit card. And with us in a tip industry, once they put that tip in, they put it in. We don't put it in. It's not a question of, was that a 7 or a 1? How did that add up? Then having someone question it, maybe 2 months down the line when you have to go back and retrieve that paper. So for us, that's a benefit even outside of the food industry that we utilize, and it saves us buying paper. I mean, there's an economic benefit for it. It saves us storing paper. It saves our, just back office work that we have to do to find it. In addition, living on an island with people who are very environmentally friendly, people come to our restaurant because we have these policies in place. Some of our regulars actually harass other restaurants into trying to do the same. They'll go, well, Islands Fish Grill doesn't give me a straw. And how come you're generating all this paper, one to bring to the table and then one to sign off on and one for you to hold and one for me to hold? So, I mean, we're trying to even encourage everyone in our industry, all of our customers, to get on board and help us out.
All right. Do we have any other questions, or does anyone have any advice for other business owners or anything that you'd like to see the community help with? You got a question?
No, I guess we don't.
All right.
I'd like to add one. I work with a lot of the business owners and operators each and every day. That's my job, bringing new products, these exciting new green products to market every day. One piece of advice that I would give you that I share with my operators when I do talk to them is, I am very willing to pay the premium on this packaging just because I know it's good for the environment. My advice to you is, with the power of where we are today with the World Wide Web and social channels, marketing efforts, digital marketing, your video on your phone, put these messages up there that this is what you stand for. Promote that. Let people know. I always search a restaurant and go to reviews before I go eat anywhere anymore. It's very important. So please, my advice to you, someone who lives in the digital world, put that out there. Make sure people know what you're standing for. And if you really are on the cusp of whether you should actually initiate this in your operation, survey your customers. Ask them if they would embrace this and support you in this initiative. I'll be happy to pay you an extra $2 or $3 to know that I'm doing something good for the environment. It doesn't matter to me. I just want my food and I want to go home, or I want to eat my food in your establishment and enjoy myself. I don't want to feel guilty that I'm taking a styrofoam box home, which I don't even know why people use that anymore, but they do. So this is the reality of what we're dealing with. And what we're trying to do in every day of our life in our business is we're trying to educate the operators. They don't know. They really don't know the difference between what's recyclable and what's not, and what's green and what's not. Remember, your job is to serve food, make money, turn your tables around, make more food, make more money. So I think that's some advice. Promote it, okay? There's so, we're on our Facebook, we're on our web phones every day. People are watching.
Just to kind of add to what John is saying, we do look, when we have restaurateurs, chains, nationally, whatever, I'm often surprised how they don't have, you'll see their menu, locations, contact us, and coupons or specials. But I often see that drop down to click onto for sustainability. And folks who are looking for supporting you oftentimes will look for that. They're looking to see where you're at. So if you have a sustainability link, because you can add so much content to that on what you're doing, what you're involved in, links to things in your area, to litter quitters, all of that, it should be there. Sustainability should be along that toolbar, along with your menu, so that someone can click onto that and find out what you're all about. Because people who want to patronize and support that are looking for that. So if you're not doing it, you really need to do it.
I call it a competitive differentiator. It's a differentiator that makes you stand out from the herd. And there's people that are willing to support that.
And this program's here to help you with that as well, that messaging and that marketing. And we're always happy to collaborate on any new ideas that you guys have for ways that you would like us to help you market yourselves. So, yes.
I was actually going to offer on behalf of the Brevard Indian River Lagoon Coalition. We have various platforms for promoting just this and for the very reasons that have already been stated. Not only, and I just wanted to throw this out there to any businesses in Brevard that would like to help, just send us a nice picture and a quick list or a summary of what you're doing, how you're doing it. We are gladly, we will immediately push that out to our audience, not just once, but on practically a monthly basis, if you'd like. So it's kind of like just help us help you with feeding us the information, and we'll put it out there not only on Facebook, but also we're developing pretty much like a green pages, like a yellow pages version of green businesses, et cetera, in the communities to include not only restaurants but responsible yard maintenance businesses and things like that have been certified by various nonprofits out there. So we're just linking it up and pushing it out, and we'd be happy to, and we're excited to be a proponent for this movement.
Yeah, so let's make you guys an official partner and have you help us out with that for sure. Absolutely.
Great.
And just to speak to that on behalf of our products, we do have a link on the KBB website in the Litter Quitter program that will send you to the products that we have to offer that we have contracted for any of the Litter Quitter members.
Great
so
point.
maybe we can share that with some of these people as well that want to promote that
Yep.
to help out.
Yep.
Ken, I know that you spoke of this in your presentation, but can you kind of revisit the whole marketing support that we'll give a business owner once they take on our eco product line and what we can help do to help them promote internally and externally?
Again, part of our bundle, our aspect of what we're all about, providing product. A big part of that is our marketing capabilities. When Sarah was, Allison was talking about the table tents. We do offer free marketing posters. We can slug your logo. We will work along with Allison to create things that will help you. Table tents. We do that at no charge. Again, because our purpose is here to help you educate and correctly send out the right message to your patrons. So it wouldn't cost you a dime. And so we do, we can help as well with, if it takes helping you on a website or whatever, we will work along with Allison to do that. And again, there are a lot of values we have to offer that will help you, and they're at no charge, which is wonderful. So.
All right. Does anyone have any more general questions or any input on things that you would like to see for the future of this program?
Yeah, one of the other questions, and going back to the plastics, is the plastic bottles, bottled water. We have, our fountain that runs our tap water, I guess. But I've had customers say, well, what about water filtration? Filtered water. Have you guys thought of partnering, or is there any type of thing with water filtration so that we can eliminate, if somebody doesn't drink tap water, we have bottled waters as an option?
That's a good point. We haven't thought of that yet. That's kind of why we do these events, to get input from you guys on what you need. That's an excellent idea, and we'll definitely look into that.
Okay, very cool.
We've got about 5 minutes or less. Are there any other questions for this round table discussion?
Our restaurant sponsors a lot of the local races through the Running Zone and through other partnerships. One is for the Turtle Preservation Society. And a lot of times we're offered to, or asked to supply beverages. And of course, your first instinct is to run to the store and get a case of water. What are some sustainable options other than that to also be able to promote our businesses but not slap out a case of water?
So as an alternative to bottled water.
Before a big venue like a race.
I mean, we always recommend reusable water bottles are the best thing. So you can have a water cooler there, and then people bring their own bottles. Or if you can't have that sort of situation happening and you need to provide something disposable, again, we talk about the plant fiber-based products. So if you had a water cooler and then, a paper-based cup or something, or do you want to?
Yeah, well, I was going to say the same thing. I've seen more and more of the larger, eliminating that case pack of 36 or 32 to have a large water dispenser bottle. And I've seen all different types of things at different events for mass water, hydration, with the utilization of some type. A lot of folks who are coming have that reusable type of container, that they carry with them. It's strapped to their backpack, knapsack, in their purse, whatever. So again, this is what people carry. And again, it gives them the ability to feed out of that larger dispenser versus everyone running around with caps and bottles, and they're everywhere. And so I'm hopefully that gives that as an option. But
And the zoo actually has an interesting. Would you like to talk about that?
About our water refill stations? Yeah, sure. Yes, so we are moving towards eliminating plastic water bottles at the zoo, and thanks to Rockwell Collins, we were actually able to install water refill stations at all of our water fountains throughout the zoo. So we are working with our members first, and they are visiting us on a regular basis, and working towards getting our guests used to bringing their reusable water bottles.
Very cool.
Something else that I just thinking about the race question. Oh, thank you. So as a race regular, I think you see water bottles sometimes, you see a lot of water coolers, but if you are in a position where providing plastic water bottles is your only option, what about also providing some type of recycle your water bottle here receptacle? And then of course there's one more step where someone has to pick that up, or someone has to then take and dump those into a recycling container. But if you feel, if you get stuck with that, we have to provide water bottles. That's the only solution this time. Thinking about, being able to recycle them might alleviate some of that guilt, or provide an environmentally sound alternative.
And Keep Brevard Beautiful actually can help you out with that. We do have a program where we do bin rental for events, so definitely keep that in mind too. So, all right.
I think we're going to have only time for another quick question. We've got about 2 minutes left before we break. Is there any other questions? Okay.
All right.
Any other final thoughts from our panel experts?
We
In
just
closing.
We just want to say thank you so much for being here today, everyone. What you all have done today, getting here, talking about the issues, throwing out ideas, is so important if we want to move together as a community towards sustainability. So we need to have more of these conversations. We need to be sharing it with friends and family, and that's what this program is all about. So please continue to stay involved with this program if you already are. If you're not yet, please get involved. We're always looking for new partners, new volunteers, new member businesses. think we have Tiny Turtle coming on board with us, so we're very excited about that. They'll be our newest member business. And again, we want to say a really big thank you to all of our sponsors who made this event possible. It wouldn't have happened without them, as well as our partners. So thank you to Brevard Zoo, Surfrider Foundation, and our sponsors, Eco Products, the Hode Group Incorporated, Durable Packaging International, Leafware, Edward Don and Company, and then also the DoubleTree for hosting. So.
Thank you. And thank you all. Stick around. Let's do some networking. Let's get to know each other a little bit better. We thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you.